Hello everyone. In this video, I am going to tell you how my assignment solution is working. So, first task will be to see how the data is stored in whether I was able to use the Redis cache or not, and how the if I was able to do that and how things are working. So, basically, this is the code where I'm going to try the basically if things are working or not. So, first I will try to test the code and the code was running at localhost. So basically, first I tried to run. So it was taking little bit of time to load the data. Because the data had been loaded from the database, which is the Postgres database. So basically, 14 seconds, for almost 15 seconds had been taken to initially load the data. So rather check the data had been coming from data. Now if we run this same test again, it was running 333 milliseconds, which had decreased the time to manifold. And this is the data which was coming, order dictionary and all those things. So this is so from the like observation only. If I run it again, it takes 197, it 146 second, 170 millisecond, turn to 11 millisecond. So this means the data had been taken from cache only, and this is the data which has been loaded from cache. So let's check whether it is coming from the Redis cache server or some other cache server. So this is the command which is used to flush all the cache server database from Redis. So let's run it. So if we again try to run this command, it will be load the data from database rather than from cache. So now loading has been taking place. So around 13 seconds has been taken to load data from database. Now try to again run it. It was done in 243 milliseconds. So hence we can say that data had been stored from cache, that to Redis cache. Because data when I fetch the data from cache, it again load the data from database. Now see how is this data is coming from the data. How does this type of data is coming in the form of list of tuples from, if you say, in the form of Python language, or we can say the basically the list, well, basically list of the keys and entry, if we see in the terms of Redis cache. So here basically simple command was there, like the data had been basically entry list had been created, and the ID had been loaded from this, like loaded dynamically from the management.py command and create database. Here the basically the data set had been loaded in the Postgres. Okay, not that. Here it had been loaded in this read CSV, and this data had been sorted in the form of basically that the requirement of like TWS, and here the data had been loaded. No, here the basically the database has been created. Oh, well, a static data list had been created, which has been used in the basically URL part. Basically here the views.py, the data had been created, stored in this data list format from the from ca- from that database model in URL path. So when I load the data, it automatically store the data, unique data in this data list. So from that point, this data has been working, and the disk cache has been created. Now we're going to test the other APIs, how things are working. So for that we will go into yeah. So this is the data which has been taken from the part cache part. So This part will be, we can say that data had been stored from cache and it had been retrieved in this format. Now we'll see the like how APIs are working, which had been created in Heroku Glacier down part. So basically, the caching had not been used because it was on the server side, so it take little bit of time. So here the data had been loaded. In this, the all entries of the data had been taken, like the ID, index. Index is the like self-generated part of the code, and it is a database ID where the 25029 had been used. And here the location 76, like latitude, longitude, timestamp, STS of the of which the data has been sorted and the speed has been taken. So it was the like first requirement where the API take the device ID and return the device latest information. So it was the latest information in the reference of timestamps. So if we try to do for another data, like we can take data from here 20984. So we will test it again. If things work, this means this API is working fine. So here the data again has been generated 758920984, and this is the latitude longitude timestamp STS and speed is equal to 0. So let me check the data is coming correct or not. So it should be similar like ID3 because it was the latest data. It had been stored in Redis cache as per the requirement, like latest information. So it's seven. The ID is 3. ID is 3. Index is 7589. Reddish PK ID is this. Is like we can say 7436 is 7. Okay, so 743670 605. So data has been same. Okay, now let's going to test the another API where the basically device location, where the API that takes device ID and return starting location and endpoint of the device. So it is for that. So let load this API. So basically, second data had been stored in the form of application of JSON, and here the latest location from the starting location, which is a 727.8779.3, 7.06958 to 7.8567 and 7.29. So this was the starting location, latitude, longitude, and this is ending location. Why this coming in the form of string? Because in the inherent Django string format, the tuple was not allowed, so it convert the tuple string tuple format into string and then send the list format. That only the list format and the string format, list format and the dictionary format is allowed to pass as a JSON file in Python Django. As far as I know, maybe there are some another things happen like that by which we can send the tuple data set. So let's try for another value to check whether API are working fine or not. So here the data has been loaded. So it was also telling the JSON format. So let's see whether the another API is working. Here in the third API takes device ID, starting time, end time, and return on the location point as latitude, list of latitude, longitude, and timestamp. So this was the part. Okay, let's see. So data had been already loaded, and was saying that HTTP 200 status, yani that's okay. It's allow only the get request and header request, and here the list has been stored. The list of dictionary format. So there are too much data had been stored, and the latitude. longitude and timestamp had been stored from that. Let's see if we change the date, whether the data will be changed or not. So here the 2021 to 2020 or 2000 basically 23 October 2021 to 24 October 2021. So if I do this 21 to 22, so data should ideally not be loaded because it was data from October 23. So data should not be loaded, so it should show the empty list. So here the empty list has been created. Let's make it back. Now test it for some another value. 2000. So here the so here the basically the another data had been loaded whose value is 20984 taken from here, and same data is happening. So if I change the date to 2111 whose data is not exist, it should also show the error. So here the data has been stored. Now at last I will show you like how endpoints of APIs are working. So this is the for the filter part. Here the latitude longitude data has been taken from this devices serializer. Here the devices is the model which was being created. Here is the model where the index device ID, FKID, latitude, longitude, timestamp, STD, and speed had been taken. And using this command, mm, using this management command, add data had been loaded from the JSON file, and the separately the basically the filter had been applied to take the unique device peak FKID and sort in the basis of STS had been taken care of. And here the URLs, here the views.py. Like in the last case, there is a filter had been applied. Here the filter had been applied like device ID is equals to ID, STS get equals to start, and STS get is equal to end. So it was taken in the form of STS, the starting point and ending point, and here the times minus timestamp. We say the latest data come first, and the previous data that the older data come second to that, and it was the latest location with time. And here the basic command to basically load the latest data in the form of list, and then the data had been stored in the form of it was come to be a list whose first entry has been taken in the response like in the first API, and in the basically the third API, the second API where the data has been stored, there the data has been created, and that too stored initially stored in the form of tuple, but it was not able to possible, so we have to convert it into string because otherwise it will going to give the list of list format rather than tuple, so the have string has been used.